through an area sa parking, musiga ang hallway pag makasense ang iyang detector sa light nga naay movement. So this is motion detector for lighting a parking or flood lighting for a parking lot area sa basement. So this is an example of that. So these are a lot of things under parking control. Okay. There are different types of parking. So the first one is bicycle parking. So usually bicycle parking, parking rack. These are racks, no? Sometimes the lain na design ang rack could be also indoor or outdoor, could be horizontal parking rack or vertical parking rack like this, no? Or naiuban elevated and naka-ceiling or wall type of parking rack. So it really depends on the design of the parking space. So usually sa mga school zone area, mga railway station or terminal, also sa mga establishment or mga company, kung nasa mga workers na gabike ra, they have this kind of system for biking of those cyclists who will bring their bicycles. So these are racks nga vertical, racks nga movable, no? Movable racks. And then you have a terminal sa station, train station nga naidaghan kaayo parking bicycle area. So these are already applicable sa Cagayan. We have some parking racks placed in the Visoria area, and even sa campus na po tayo parking rack. Okay, then we have also truck parking. So truck parking is also parking requirement for a specific vehicle type, and this is for trucks and trailers nga naay cargo sa likod. So usually ang design application ani is that for mga areas like pier, ports and harbor, mga locations of airports and railway, even sa mga extent sa mga bodega or what we call as warehouses in some establishments na sila parking for their trucks and trailers. So usually the design is more bigger in terms of space requirement para sa ato mga trucks and trailers na parking. So there are design elements to consider. In this example, na yung mga trucks and trailers nga lapad kayo iyang likod, so the space area should also accommodate kung pila iyang gikarga in terms of the number of axle, no? Ng mga trucks naman siya axle wheel number. So pila ka axle gani, that will only define kung sa kataas iyang pwede dalon nga karga. So that means to say, ang iyadaan nga parking space should be enough para dili magbitay ang iyahang likod sa parking space or bay area. And so these are the design requirements, maybe diagonal, vertical position, and so forth. And napoy usahay ceiling height requirement. Labi na ko indoor siya nga parking. So this is similar to bus. Kay sa bus pod, concern sa bus is the size and capacity of the bus. So if you have a bus like 60 capacity seater or more than that, so lapad imong bus in terms of length. And then of course, kung ang imo pag yung bus capacity is more than 60 kay double decker like first deck, second deck, double decker. So imong consideration yung ceiling height sa imong karong parking area labi na sa mga airport o mga facilities nga naka-basement ang imong parking. So I've seen a lot of this in, I think nasa Manila, they have some double decker bus na. Sa Cagayan we have one nga going or heading for Kibawi, Bukidnon, and then we have also, let me see, we have also in some parts of Asia, especially sa Singapore. I've seen a lot of this in Singapore, no? So kana siya. So Bay Area, ang bay size also similar to truck, iyang mga bay should be lapad ang likod para ma-accommodate iyang length. Okay, motorcycle parking is similar to bicycle parking, kaya lang wala siya rack, no? It's just nga iyang space requirement is really just mark with a length and a width, and then of course naiuban sad special iyang parking because special man pud iyang motorcycle, expensive a bit, no? So parking of motorcycle can also be on-street or off-street parking, meaning on-street or private garage na parking. And then ang control for parking is ang uban na sila yung mga lock system, pang-lock so that safe ang ilahang motorbikes or motorcycle. And napod sila yung mga area indicator sa pavement defining unsa ang space, bay area by number, and then unsa ang imong position sa pag-park sa imong vehicle. In this case, diagonal, in this case, vertical sa curve. Now let's go to parking survey and design. So I'll slow a little bit. This is already discussion for design. So when we talk about survey for parking, it could be done manual, no? Or automated. So sa manual, you need to have one person or two or more who will go around the parking area and check the plate number every interval of time. Say for example, every 5 minutes, tuyok siya. Pero kapoy man ng 5 minutes, kung dako ka ang area, di siya kabalik sa start, nahurot na ang 5 minutes. So ang buhaton is, if it is assigned to a shorter and walking area nga parking lot, so siguro enough ang 15 minutes or 30 minutes interval of parking survey, no? So in the case nga magtuyok na si ang person nga mag-survey, butang niya sa ihang service sheet ang plate number. Ngayuban, some extent, nanay mga control system sa parking, labi na kung naay centralized nga meter, no? Parking fee and parking meter station. So buhaton sa surveyor is kuhaon na lang niya ang number, and then siguro picturean kung unsay nag-park at that time. So dinhi naka-log man dinhi ang mga numbers of values. So dinhi na lang niya kuhaon ang information. Now, to some degree, kung kailangan yung may bawaan kung unsa nga type of vehicle ang nag-park, unsa sa kadugay mag-park, these are important items. So this one here will make sure nga makita niya through an equipment or a handheld camera or maybe a instrument para ma-record ang plate number. So, security guards and even surveyor can go around and check kung saan mga nag-park ang area. So, kung you're after only, kung after lang ka sa pila ka book nag-park, so you can do this. Pero if you want to go more details on traffic information and parking analysis, so you have to have data logging, picturean, and then everything should be in. Plate numbers, type of car, sa kadugay, and so forth. And then, of course, there is another one, which is a method nga more or less non-manual. So this is what we call CCTV application. So sa CCTV application, na siya identification of the vehicle, na po siya plate number, na capture, and then everything will just be automated. So dili nakakailangan mag-manual. Okay, so unsa man ang mga parking design consideration in terms of engineering. So first, in the design of the parking space, labi na kung surface parking lang ka, so you have to consider the maneuvering aisles, ang pag-maneuver sa mga sakyanan in and out sa iyang bay area. So ang isa ka parking space, like kani this one, has about maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ka bay area sa isa ka line, no? So each bay area becomes a parking space na dayon. So when we call this one here, it becomes a parking lot. Parking lot with specific parking spaces with numbered nga bay area. So ang bay area naka-number kung unsa siya nga number would indicate, let's say for example, na occupy na ba si number 5 nga bay area or number 10, something like that. So the maneuvering aisle is the area or space for entering vehicles and exiting vehicles to go around the area. So that's the aisles. Ang walkway and street curve here is access para sa driver, because the moment ma-park na niya ang sakyanan, ang driver has to get out and move or walk along the area. So there should be a walkway or a street curve para ang iyahang mobility after mabili niya ang sakyanan is maka-walk gyapon ang driver. And then you have the parking space. This is the entire parking space or parking lot. Here your driveway is naka-space sa tunga, which is your access route for you to move around the aisles para mamili ka og imong parking space. Now, the access driveway is by means of the access driveway from the front sa curve towards the interior, and then na po kay exiting area. So that's actually entry and exit route and the access driveway. And then of course, na kay mga island as necessary in between sa imuhang vehicle nga nakapark. So an island necessary just to segregate front nga positions of cars. So kana siya. So by this side, when you look at parking, you can see some parking could be done 90 degree, and then wala siya island, no? Ang yung island na ara dinhi sa kilid. Green part. but it's already marked in terms of bay area, bay spaces. This is diagonal and naa siya mga bay nga naka-alternate against each other. So na enough space at tubangan para di sila magbangga. Okay. Design of parking in terms of style can be either 90-degree parking, so this is 90. 90 degree ang curb parking usahay, or napoy usahay nga curb parking nga parallel. So this is 90. Parallel parking is like this from the curve, and then from the curve it could also be 30-degree, and then another one is 45-degree. Now sa on-street parking, that's called curb parking, no? Curb parking nga parallel, 90, 30, 45, and so forth. For sa mga indoor, sorry, off-street parking, it could also be 90, 30, pero di siya curb parking. It's actually surface parking sa private area. So say, ang parking po also can also be done by double row or single row, no? So double row in this case sa 30-degree, okay? Duha ka book alternating or facing parking. And then single row is just really one line sa ka-wall maybe ng mga parking. So that's 30, 45, 60, and 90 application. And then we have to consider by design as well, turning radius. Sa regular car, from the maneuvering aisle sa tunga, which is enough space for more than, let's say, one car length or 1.5. So this is enough maneuver to get in and out of the parking space, no, sa imong bay area. However, that area as well, kanang maneuvering aisle, will be in position for turning radius sa imuhang car as it exit or enters a parking space. And that's okay because gamay raman ang requirements sa car, no? Dili sa motorcycle and bike the same, no? Gamay ra iyang requirement. But if you talk about trucks and trailers, dako kay ang turning radius. Depende sa size sa imong truck o iyang cargo gidala sa likod o pila ka axle pod, because then it will require a bigger requirement of space kung dako iyang karga, no? Kaya maglisod man siya ma-maneuver kung ang iyang likod sa trailer will have to be adjusted in terms of turning para siya maka-exit or maka-park. So that's turning radius. Okay, so this is an example of that, no? When you do parking a 90-degree or parallel and whatnot. So the maneuver of turning is with respect to the turning radius. And then, of course, there are special parking applications. Special for a regular car. So, nalang kay spaces, 1, 2, 3, tulo ka bay. But ang imong fourth or fifth nga area is accommodating for special application. Kani siya kay PWD or people who has a physical limitation. So, kailangan siya og ramp, no, para sa iyahang wheelchair. So, this is an area para siya this is the ramp, ang exit maybe. Ang dinhing upside is already murag crossing area niya para from the car maka-exit siya without necessarily being delimited by the space sa parking sa other vehicle. So, kailangan na siya space ang naka-wheelchair. Now, all the more, kung dako ang iyang vehicle, kay na ay vehicle ramp sa sulod. So, na ay mga ramp ang uban, let's say, kani siya, let's say it's an ambulance, and then sa ambulance naman kang ramp, no? So, a bigger space requirement, about 132-inch or minimum, should be given as a space para sa imuhang special vehicle application na parking. This is true para sa mga hotel, hospital, commercial center nga gi-consider ginila ang space for this disabled PWDs and for those who need that space for applications na emergency. Now, there's also such thing as parking facade. Now, ang mga buildings usahay, when they are designing the buildings sa mga architects, parking area is an eyesore. Pangit siya tan-awon sa layo. So, they cover that one with what we call as a facade. So, sa tubangan sa likod ng mga hotel, ilan ang taguon ang parking space, labi na sa open parking area. Let's say, this is your building, and then, naay kaning entry point sa parking area, so itago ang mga eyesore nga nakapark sa sakyanan. Kaya it's a space nga which doesn't have much value. Ang value lang niya is para sa nag-park. So for those who are not interested in parking, it does it doesn't make a aesthetically nice viewpoint sa usa ka building perspective of design. So some architects they hide parking spaces and do some certain facade application. Now, another example of a special application sa parking is what we call as intelligent systems. Sa ubang country, they already adopted CCTV so that they don't need much detail on regulating parking. Kay it's all electronic, it's all automated. But for some degree also for pay parking, for example, so a person has to pay through a ATM machine, debit card or credit card para siya makabayad sa iyang parking fee. Uban pod through cellphone nga i-debit lang through the car and scan lang siya. Now these are intelligent systems. It's Internet of Things or IoT application. So IoT more or less electronic or computer based. Now, this one is sensor, it's electronic. So when it's red, it would mean the space is already occupied, and it's white, it would mean sorry, if it is green, it is not occupied. So then intelligent systems will tell us now you can park on this green area, and for the red area it's already occupied. Now this example here sa sulod sa basement area sa parking, this is reflected sa gawas because communication of the system here go also with the communication outside sa parking area. So then makita nimo na paday space kay puro green. Now if it is like almost to zero, so mag-red na siya, flash of red. And so fairly nga gamay na lang ang space until such time ma-zero ang sa ka-level for parking area. And then of course, we go to the one aspect of our consideration for parking is the parking investment. Usually, when we talk about parking, it's actually infrastructure or facility. Infrastructure siya kung i-build nimo and kailangan siya dako kay nga investment. So it's either vertical or horizontal nga na-shelter, so it's already expensive. Pag surface parking lang siya, then gravel lang, then security guard na imong investment, then imong assignment sa parking space. So it's a minimum charges kay gamay ra man yang facility gihatod nga service, no. But for areas like kana mga parking nga indoor, usually na sila toilet, na sila security guard, na sila area for elevators and staircase and stairwell. All those things demands a degree of investment or allocation for budget para ma-build ang usa ka parking area or parking lot. So that's what we call then as investment or economics of parking application. So there's two side of consideration. One is ang supply. Now the supply is the one means to say kinsang naghimo sa investment. Could be a proprietor, a person who or a group of person who really wanted to go into the business of parking, no? So they will provide the parking space, they will provide the number of bay areas, and they will also provide the information for free parking or is it pay parking service and unsa ang service hours. So that's information for the one who's doing the supply. Now the demand is with respect sa uh, tao or drivers nga nag-require sa parking space. So usually you look at pila de ka book ang nanginhanglan sa parking area and pila ka vehicle and what type of vehicle amo park and to what duration of time they will need the parking space. So balancing demand and supply, supposedly if you want to venture in the business of supplying for parking space, then of course you expect nga na demand para over time na kay profit because it's like a classroom, no? Na sa classroom natay bangko, so magbayad tag tuition sa estudyante nga misulod kay maminaw sa lessons sa ka-teacher. It's the same principle. It's just that ang imong car karon is idling on a parking space, but you cannot use that parking space if it is not free, no? Because then you have to pay per hour or per number of time na nagamit nimo siya for that space. So it's like ang chair or bangko sa estudyante is already a parking area or parking space na bay. So if we have like 40 ka chairs sa isa ka classroom, it's like saying natay 40 ka parking lot space which is bay area for the parkers. So that's the same principle. Okay. So what are the parking consideration for analysis? So we will tackle at least 5 area. The first one is physical. Physical is in terms of the environment in terms of land use. Land use would mean where should we place our parking? Kisay nanginahanglan sa parking, asa ibutang ang parking space. Should be industrial site, kanay mga trucks and trailers and business sectors nga nag-need og mga van for cargo and whatnot. Could be mga institution like hospital and school, hinahanglan og space for parking. That's land use. Or could be tourist area, museums, parks, and church, or could also be any commercial business district na may mga shops and stores and market that needs the parking space. So, of course, i-appeal nato ang mga special uses. Special uses like sa tourism, they don't need a lot of time for parking, but there are parking buses that have special use, and usually ang usage nila is for tourism purposes. So in some countries, they really look into that because they are into the business of making tourists happy, the bus operators to be there for the tourists itself. So kana siya mo na mga special uses. Or sa hospital, when we have accommodation for parking sa mga clients sa hospital na magpa-check up or whatnot for medical purposes, they need a parking space with because they go there for with their car, no? And so the overall urban design of the community should be dynamic, no? Asa ang need dito i-supply ang parking based sa physical environment. Now, kung decision is on-street parking siya or off-street, that depends kung asa ibutang o kinsa ang monubag sa paghatag sa supply. Kay expensive baya kung magbutang, no? Now, the other consideration is the animation part, which is really dynamics of using the parking space with respect to your trip purpose. So, sahay kita magamit ta sa space nata sa campus, we expect nga itong parking lot or parking area will be walkable from to our destination. So, kung ang akong parking space is naaday sa City Hall nga side dapit, kay mauray available, layo ra sad siya para sa ako kung ako sa campus sa Xavier, no? So, it's too far for the parkers to park their car on that area and walk at that far for access, no? So it should be nga ang imong parking space will be within the network or accessibility position for the driver who will be parking the vehicle over time with a certain purpose sa iyahang lakaw or sa iyang trip. So that's the system setting for more mobility and more access sa imong parkers. The other one is trip characteristics. So trip characteristics is based sa biyahe sa tao. So, na mga times na daghan rin park, na po times na gamay rin park. So, it depends on the time of the day of the week, and then maybe seasonal. Kaya usually sa Christmas, daghan kay magsuroy, daghan kay mag-shop for whatever reasons, no? And so, therefore, mas daghan ang influx sa traffic for parking sa usa ka mga CBD area, market, and so forth. Even, masurprise ka sa atong market sa Kugon or Carmen, mutaas mo offshoot siya ba sa Christmas? It's because this a seasonal variation affects our parking space requirement. And of course, sa days a week, usually Monday, wala kay ga park sa mga area. But then, kung sa opisina tamutan na mapuno gid ang opisina, pag weekend, mingaw ang opisina, mingaw ang parking area. But for example, sa weekend, asa man ga park ang mga tao? So usually, dito sila ga park sa mall, mag-grocery, and whatnot sa mga area nga na ay leisure application or recreation. So sa mga sports center, church, parks, and so forth. These are all considerations for a person's trip with respect sa yung purpose sa pagbiyahe. So all of these things in consideration, you should be able to look at unsa day ang expectation nimo in terms of demand with respect to time, place, the reasons of the trips, and the characters sa iyang demand. Now, if we also are in the business of attracting parking supply, maligya tag idea nga nami parking area para sa inyo ha. So, ang first nimo consideration kung ikaw ang supplier sa parking is that kanang walkable area siya to and fro an area where people most likely will go. For example, most likely mo go ang mga tao sa downtown, sa Divisoria because na ay mga restaurant, na ang school, na ang park. So, it's accessible area for walking. So, therefore, amin ako ibutang ang parking. Okay, basin ang tao gusto siya parking within that area. So that's consideration for walking distance and the location for wayfinding. Kay usahay baya kung wala tay parking, magtuyok ka sa Divisoria, mangita lag parking space. So that's part of wayfinding. So we make sure that we make information kung asang available parking sa isa ka local area. Let's say sa CBD sa Cagayan, asa dapit ang pwede parking. Is it on street? Is it off street? Pila man kung off street? And so those things. Consideration for the wayfinding. And then so visual address of the parking lot should be also part of that. So asa ko mag-park, naay option diri. Pila ka parking space na diha? So mga 50. So napabaka available nga parking. So some of them in some country, they use a cell phone app to inform parkers where they can park in a CBD area. They will also have information how much it will cost per hour kung madugay ni mo kuha imong car. So the driver can at least decide beforehand asa siya paingon, and then ang expected parking fee, or kung na siya makuha ang available parking na free. Okay, so those things considered. So sa side pod sa supplier, ang iyang ipakita nga information should also include operation. So na mga areas nga free parking maybe sa buntag, pag abot sa 10 o'clock, it's already paid parking. So that's option para maanad imuhang parkers nga naay free time and napoy or free or lax time, pero napoy dili free nga time, so they have to pay. So promotions of this will encourage clients and customers to go to your parking area. But of course, if you have if you have fee charges, usually imo po indicate or enforce ang time limit. So, for example, downtown CBD areas in metropolis like Tokyo, New York, Manhattan area, or where in downtown Hong Kong, tendency gid nasa sentro mahal ilahang parking. So therefore, enforcement of time limit is very strict. So 30 minutes maybe mahal na gid kaayo, no, dili na normal nga parking, but it's because imo man gid dala imong car. So kung nagdala kag car ina nakadako ka afford ka mag-park for certain time, but you just have to be sure nga get off nimo imong car, otherwise you will charge for the next few hours, and that will become more expensive on your end. So that is because parking, again, is not supposed to be a monopoly to one person. It's to be a shared parking area for everyone nga needs a parking. So equal opportunity siya nga parking space. And then of course, at the end of the day, when we have our parking area, supply and demand consideration, we look at the customer's experience. If they are happy with the service that we're giving in terms of time limit, enforcement, safety and access, and the role of parking in the community, ang sa atong mahatod nga serbisyo, and of course, the level of service that I made available sa atong parking. So, ang level of service sa parking is with respect sa A to F gyapon. So failure imong parking or passing kay nagig kay space magamit pag moadto ka sa anang area. Okay, so this is an example of analysis. This is university assessment of parking. So ang ilang red would mean layo ra kaayo ang parking area with respect sa mga building like Murphy Building, Duffy Building, Memorial Hall. So layo ra kaayo ang parking space, so di sila happy. Sa blue area kay ang parking space kay within ra, dapit ra, duol ra sa ilang building. So they're happy more or less in terms of access. This is parking with respect to cyclists and safety. So naiuban kay dili nila feel mag-park kay kawaton ilang bicycle, so forth and so on. So this is just interview survey. This is actually a bar charting kung cyclists who will be parking their cars are amenable to parking and parking attributes. Okay. Another consideration for analysis sa parking is congestion, because if we adopt so much and allow so much on-street parking, so this is what happens in, I think, city of Delhi or Mumbai in India, na ang both sides of the road are already eaten by the parking space na on-street. So the travel lane becomes a limited area na dayon, no? Nagamay ang area. Kay puro naman nag-park on both sides of the road, which should not be because this is a traveling area. So congestion is an issue when it comes to parking. Parking congestion and then congestion of the motorists who are driving on this road. And the other one is accidents. There are also accidents happening on a parking lot because of maneuver sa parking aisle, exiting, entering. And usually, accidents are in a form of uh, penalties. Usually, unless your car is insured, then you will be paying a lot for damages and whatnot because of parking. Another consideration is noise and emissions. Pollution, like noise, is actually kato mga horn, no? When you are parking and you are trying to be in a hazard, yeah, saba ka imong car kay kailangan magdali, magdali, magdali. So something like that. That's a noise pollution. The other one is emission from a vehicular exhaust, no? Kani-kani sa likod sa sakyanan. You have carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon, and all those pollutants in the air. That's pollution to the air. So usually, ang isa ka concept ani is idling. Sometimes, ang mga nag-park sa sakyanan, leave nila ang aircon or leave nila ang heater on even if naka-standby ang car. And I usually see this when I investigated, my study in Japan was related to car application. So this is what happens sa mga four-season country. They use the air condition on, they keep the air condition on inside the vehicle even if nakapark because they are just thinking they will just be about 20 minutes, 30 minutes off and they come back after the parking. Sometimes also sa mga winter or cold season like autumn, they leave the heating system inside the vehicle on. So they will idle the vehicle, wala nagdagan, pero nagdagan ang engine. So that is actually pollution on the road. And it's also noisy at some point. So usually, ilan ang gabuhaton because the season discomforts them, no? Init kaayo, so i-on ang aircon. Tugnaw kayo, so i-on ang heater. And that's where idling issue comes in. Idling of vehicles creates pollution and noise. And then, so we go to our analysis for parking today. So far, next question.
Wala man.
Okay. So, parking analysis, we have up to 6. Parking terminology such as accumulation, volume, load, duration, turnover, and index. So, we'll tackle each at a time. So, parking accumulation is unsa kadaghan ang nag-park at a given instant of time, no? Naka-red akong instant. So it is defined as the number of vehicles at a given instant. Normally, the value is expressed in an accumulation curve or a graph by plotting the number of bay spaces occupied with respect to time. So that's parking accumulation. In contrast, ang parking volume is pila ka vehicle nag-park on a duration of time. So it is a number of vehicles parked at a given duration of time which does not account repetition of vehicle. So kung sa buntag natanawan nato nga ang isa ka car nagpark siya for almost 5 hours, isa ra siya ka count by volume. But if a parking bay has like sa first 2 hours kay naay nagpark nga pick up and then sa next 2 hours na nagpark nga car and the next 1 hour na nagpark nga let's say van. So ang pag ihap niyo ana is 3 vehicles because 3 different types. So repetition kung duration lang of time is counted as 1 basta the same vehicle. But of course, because of duration of time, we account the entirety as parking volume. So volume is actual number of vehicles that enter in the area as recorded, not necessarily katong with repetition. Okay? Then we go to parking load. Parking load is simply multiplying the number of vehicles occupying the parking area at each interval that instant of time with respect to the time interval. So, kung nag-survey ka in every 15 minutes, so you multiply that vehicle na nag-occupy for the 15 minutes nga imong survey. So, it expressed then as vehicle hour because ang imong number of vehicle and then ang imong minutes sa interval, 15, divide nimo by 60. So, you come up with an hour and then becomes the unit vehicle hour. So, parking load is the area under the accumulation curve. So, kaning duha, parking accumulation and parking load are more or less ig-agaw, no? Pareha sila o related sila sa pag-compute sa value, accumulation and load. Then we go to parking duration. So it's all related to time. So in average, unsa kadugay ang kasagara vehicle ana nga area nagpark. So it is the ratio of total vehicle hours to the number of vehicles na nakapark. So the unit is parking load divided by parking volume. So kung nakay 5 ka car nagsulod sa imong parking area, and then ang uban ni gawas, ang uban nagstay pa. So on the average pila da iyahang duration kasagara silang 5, no, average. Okay. Parking turnover is the ratio of number of vehicles parked in a duration to the number of parking bays available. So kung nakay 20 ka parking bays, ang parking turnovers ang pagpuli-puli, no? Puli-puli over time. Kapila nagpuli-puli sa isa ka oras ang imong 20 ka bay area. So it expresses as a number of vehicles per bay area with respect to time duration. So turnover is equal to parking volume divided by the number of parking bays. So I'm sure I'm very fast, but we'll go back to that in a while. So let's have just an example. Sorry, I napaday isa. Parking index. Index is in terms of percentage or sometimes called as efficiency and is related to occupancy. So pila ang nakasulod nga nagpark. And then how efficient is your system sa 20 ka parking bays nga ang mga sakyanan nakaparkid siya. So it's defined as the ratio of the number of bays occupied in a time duration to the total space available. Kung pila imong total bay area for the parking lot. So parking index is equal to parking load divided by parking capacity. Ang capacity is, for example, in this case, 20 ka bays ang akong gihatan. And multiplied by 100 should be percent. So ang usa ka system can be 80%, ang parking index, pwede po 100%, ang parking index, pwede po 150 parking index. But because it is related to efficiency and occupancy, let me ask, 150% nga parking index, is it efficient or inefficient?
Inefficient, ma'am.
Yes, very good. It is inefficient. Kay ang imong expectation is only 100. But of course, nanobra. It only means nga dili balance imong parking supply with respect sa demand. So kung wise ka nga investor sa parking space, then you have to add more parking bays because noted, daghan ang ganid, kulang imong supply. Now, kung 80 ra pud na siya, it would only mean nga sufficient but not efficient. That's sufficient but not efficient because you still lack the 20% sa imong profit to make it at 100. So therefore, it's a balancing act, no? Sa usa ka investor sa parking. Now, ang investor sa parking space maybe the government, maybe a private entity, maybe an owner of a mall or a store or a hotel, no? So muna yung lantawon per me. Enough ba akong parking? And ang index ba is of a good quality percentage so that I could say I have been efficient or maybe I need more to make it efficient. So something like that. Now sa mga mall, particular sila ani nga application because parking is appendix to the mall. Ang parking is a convenience for those who are going to the mall. So wala man siguro ganahan mo sa mall kung walay parking area ang mall, no? Kay kung mag-grocery ka, unsaon nimo? Yeah. Okay lang kung you can afford now and then to do taxi or to ride on a jeepney. But ang problem is if kung nakay daghan dala, it's not convenient, no? So in the mall area, usually you expect grocers, katong mag-grocery, katong mag-shop, and then katong magsuri-suri lang. Okay? So in that expectation, you need to provide parking for your clients. So usually sa mga mall, 70% mag-indicator na sa ilang nga we have to fill up more space. Nga naman. Because for sure, katong 30% is inconvenient na nga location for parking sa mga parkers. Say for example, mga tigulang, di ba sa ganahan nga ilang parking to sa taas kay nga level. Or katong na ay mga disability, di sa ganahan sa taas, gusto siya nga ubos. And then if ikaw pod nga gusto ka mag-grocery, daghan imong dala, di ka ganahan nga musaka o naog sa parking area through an elevator or stairwell kung na kay dala, right? So you expect ang imuhang parking space is at least accessible sa imo kung nakay dala, nakay bitbit, and so forth. So kung 70% na siya, for sure, may na dahil na ang sa ka shop or sa ka mall na will add more parking para ang atong client dili mo balhin mato sa downtown kay mas daghan parking space sa downtown dinhi permit puno manita pa tag ay gwapo nga location. So those are the trade-off. And usually sa market strategy, if you are looking at that perspective, ready na ka to prepare for another parking space so that ang imuhang client na option. And then di sila mabalhin og lain nga shop, lain nga store, or lain nga mall. So that's strategic kung gusto ka nga mahatod sa imong customer or imong client sa directly sa imuhang facility, which is the mall. Okay, so let's take a sample problem. Okay, so in here we have 3 parking bay. So na bay area 1, no, 1. Ang yung occupant is blue and green. Bay area 2 si red, and bay area 3 is brown and violet. So these are assumed to be cars, no? Na color ang cars. And ang survey was every 15 minutes. So 15, 30, 45, etc. So if you notice, pag graph niya karon, more or less na siya sa 2 hours nga survey, no? Kay 120 almost. So, sa 2 hours na survey for 3 bay area, tulo ka bays sa iyang parking lot, ayan gigraph karon pila kabok ang nagamit sa iyang parking area. So, this is what we call as accumulation curve for parking. So, somehow, kung gusto nimo ma-visualize unsang situation sa imong parking area, you can have a accumulation curve like this. Pwede po ka mag-bar chart, no? It's a better idea of looking at what's happening in my parking lot. Now, this is not true for just this small size bay area. It could be lot of bay areas, no? So, na ay mga shops nga ilahang parking kay naka basement naka level, so level 1, level 2, level 3, so ilan ang evaluate kung pila ang volume of parkers sa ilang kada level, and then tanaw nila pila ang mga bay area ang na-accommodate in terms of parking. So those are things consideration. So let's tackle this, no? Let's try to check if unsa ang situation sa atong parking nga tulo ka bay area. So first, ingon ta, there are actually parking volume is based on the number of vehicles. So admittedly, maraman ka vehicles, si red, blue, green, violet, and brown. So 5 vehicles lang ta. Now, if you compute for parking load, so every 15 minutes, no, na-ikuan din niyo, constant, 15 over 60. That's minutes over minutes, so that's actually hour, no? So 15 to an hour. So 15 minutes man ang interval, so itong gitanaw, kung pila ang nasapnan every 15 minutes. So, na nag-park 1, si blue, second minute na ay blue and brown, and so forth and so on. So, dinhi, dapit sa 60, no? Kaupat. Nakita nimo nga walay nag-park kay 0 siya, walay nasapnan. Okay? So, but then sa abot sa 3, na nasapnan dinhi sa 105 minutes kay si violet, red, and green. So, that's how you plot parking load. So computing that, so you have 2, 4, 6, 8, have 11 times 15 over 60. So that's about pila. Is that correct? 2.75 vehicle hour. Can we compute, everyone? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, so, kung parking load is 2.75 vehicle hour, it will mean nga nag-expect ka sa isa ka oras about 3 vehicles kung i-round off na nato, no? More or less sa isa ka oras maka-expect day ko nga naagi vehicle na tulo nag-park. That's almost like a parking load. And then we take into consideration naman average parking duration, unsa kadugay sila ga-park on the average. So, compute na naman your parking load and then divide it by the number of vehicles na nag-park. So you have 5, no? So if you take that 2.75 over 5, you'll get about 33 minutes di ay on the average ang ilang time nga nagstay sa parking bay area. Average lang, kay 5 man atong gitanaw. Okay, kapila magpuli-puli dayon. So parking turnover is obtained by, in this case, 5 ka vehicle Then imong gitan-aw sa 5 hours kay napuli-puli na nagpuli sa brown si violet, nagpuli sa blue si green. So tan-aw na to kapila siya nagpuli o pila. So 5 vehicles divided by sa 2 hour nga survey divided by sa parking lot or that's 3 bay area. So you get about 0.83 value, or if we have to place that in perspective sa percent, that's 83%. But this is in unit vehicle hour bay. So, pila ka vehicle per hour per bay ang nagstay, nag-turnover. So, more or less, almost one vehicle every hour, no? Per bay area. So, sa isa ka oras, kada bay area, more or less, nagpuli-puli about one vehicle di ay. But then if you look at parking index, so pila ang how to say efficiency sa imong parking lot. Mingon ta, that's 2.75 parking load divided by 3 ka bay area, that's capacity, and ang survey time, that's 2 vehicle hours. So makancel ng vehicle hour, the remaining unit will be now percent kay multiply man sa 100. So you get 45.83%, which is about 46%. Good or bad? Fair? Good? Or let's say uh, turnover is capacity, efficiency. Is it efficient or inefficient?
Inefficient.
Efficient or inefficient atong parking area?
Dili
Ba na
efficient.
naningod? Inefficient or efficient atong parking area? Huy, walay gatingog. Walay tao.
Hello, hello, hello.
Wala ko'y nadunggan. Natulog naman ako mga estudyante.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank you, Neil. Mata pa dahil si Neil. Okay, so that one, no? So, manotice ninyo, then you can compute everything dayon and summarize your result in terms of the parameters or variables to be considered for parking. Then let's take another example which is related na dahil sa inyong exercise. So this is in and out survey. So usually parking survey does not only look at katong accumulation curve, ano, pwede po ta magtanaw sa in and out survey. So in and out is usually ang ilag yung gitanaw na is occupancy count, and then accounting pila ang nagsulod and igawa sa parking lot and parking space, pilang occupancy with respect to fixed intervals of taking data, at the same time ang sampling period. So usually, mostorya ta ani, it will be like mag-inventaryo ta sa parking space sa atong area. So inventory-wise, it is an in and out survey application. Let's take an example of a problem. So an in and out survey was conducted for a parking area consisting of 40 bays. So that's already your capacity, 40 ka bay area. The initial count was found to be 25 parkers. So wala pa ka nakastart sa survey na nakita ang 25 kabuk nag-park na vehicle. So ang 25 therefore is your counter, beginning counter nimo. Kaya di ba later mag-in and out man siya. So beginning counter nakadaan 25. And then ingon siya, the number of vehicles coming in and out of the parking lot for the time is based on a 5-minute interval. So, every 5 minutes kaga survey. So, given 60 minutes ang isa ka oras, so you have about 20, 10, 2, 4. Hindi na ko kabalo mag-count. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, 20 ka data collection for in and out survey of vehicle. So, ang pangtana dayon niya is find the accumulation, total parking load, average occupancy, and efficiency of the parking lot. So for that, ang ato dayong gitanaw is pila man ang kabuok ang nag-in. So for every interval, gi-count pila is vehicle nga sulod, and then gi-total nato sa end pila kabuk sila tanan. Now sa nag-output, interval every 5 minutes, tanaw nato pila ni gawas, and then pila pud ang total nga gigawas. So given that table kaganina, 50 ang total and 39 in versus out. Atong gibutang sa table 1 ang entry, 2 and 3, no? Time, in and out, and then data. So let's compute for accumulation. occupancy and parking load. Now may calculator.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Let's start then sa accumulation. Accumulation is ang in tulo, ang out duha. But ang initial nato nga counter is pila? Pila initial counter?
25.
Yeah, 25. So 25 plus 3 minus 2, 26. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, cumulative siya kay accumulation curve man. So, 26 plus 2 minus 4 sa next nga round, pila? 24?
Ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
24 plus 4 in, then out nga duha, 26.
Ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, every 5 minutes mo na imong accumulation curve nga computation, ha? So, imo na siyang i-account. Taman sa 60th nga minute. Then, let's go to occupancy na sad. So, occupancy, by definition, unsa si occupancy? Occupancy is actually efficiency, no? Efficiency is occupancy. So, let's have that one. So, occupancy will have, occupancy. Pila ka parking bay, galita? Pila ka parking bay? 40, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, kung 40 atong parking bay, we have accumulation nga 26. So, 26 over 40, pila siya in terms of occupancy percentage?
65, ma'am.
Okay. So, 24 over 40, should that be 60? Correct?
60.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 36 over 40, should that be 90? Check lang nato.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Then let's go to parking load. So parking load is defined as, parking load? Parking load is defined as multiplying simply the number of vehicles occupied with the time interval. So occupied with the time interval. So in and out. So let's have the first one. So occupancy, we have 26 times pilang time interval? 5 minutes, right? So 26 times 5, that's 130. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then 24 times 5, is that 120?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, unsang unit sa parking load? Parking load is expressed as vehicle hour. So, muna ka number ga vehicle sa isa ka oras nga imong gi-survey. Kung imong gibasihan ang every interval of 5 minutes. So, kung totalon nato, can you check pila ang total parking load DI? Because we're after parking load. Wrong na siya nga entry kay sayop ang kuan source na ako nakitaan sa online. Ako na lang di correct. So pila ang total parking load?
1935 ang ako, ma'am.
Okay,
1935.
1935. So 1935 total vehicle minutes to no katong time kay minutes man. So kung ato siya i-convert to hour because the base unit is vehicle hour, so is that 32.25? Correct?
Kuan, ma'am, 32.27.
Okay, that's good. So at least kabaluta, that's more or less the benchmark value, no, 32. So in sense, ang imo ang parking lot has this number for the 40. Remember 40 by atong parking bay. So more or less sa isa ka oras ga-expect ta 32 ka vehicle ang ga-park sa isa ka oras. That's the vehicle hour nga basis. So if you look at it then sa index na pod, so you just divide it by capacity with respect to time, remember? So you get your index. So for individual index sa kada Bay Area for 5 minutes, mo ni siya imong i-compute ganin natong 65. Every 5 minutes imong mangi siya i-compute by 65. So you get parking index. So this is how you compute accumulation, index, occupancy, load, and parking load. So of course, later makabantay mo na apad gyapon siya turnover. So dinhi nga example, wala lang naapil ang turnover. So this is an example of analysis wherein gitan-aw niya ang survey from 6 in the morning to 12 in the morning, 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, and so forth and so on. So this is just sample, no? So naiuban, tanaw nila pila ang maximum hours na nagpark ang sa katao so that they will know kung profit sila. Kaysa, for example, sa akong experience sa Tokyo, when I park a vehicle, ang akong bayad is at least 50 yen per hour. Kay student nga, fee man ko siya. So medyo barato ka. 50 so ba na, centavo in cents, 50 centavo for one yen. Sa Japan kay 50 yen and then 100 yen man ang base unit. So 50 yen is affordable. But after 1 hour, na ma-penalize na ko kay it will become 75 per hour. So I have to make sure nga I only park for a short duration kaya otherwise ma-penalize ko. As you increase the time na nagbutang ka sa imong sakyanan, so maybe in the 5 hours na ma-park na ko siya na, dako na kaya akong penalty charge kay they only allow 1 hour or 2. Nagaliuban kay free ang first hour, sa second hour kay ipabayad. Pag abot sa third, penalize na dahin ka, so mas mamahal. So that's how you look at then the perspective of parking para walay monopoly sa parkers. Because again, it's equal opportunity to park, no? Na equity. Okay. So for our exercise sa class, we will use again the campus scenario. This is based on the data from my student before. So because wala man tayo opportunity mo gawas, I just recycled some data for just opportunity for calculation because it's important na kabalo mo how to do these things, no? So for the campus, we have, for example, din his SBM 17, and then 6 is back sa chapel, and then 3 sa Locust Hall, dapit sa mga graduate school. Then 5 abay sa chapel sa side, which is adjacent to the Magis building and the canteen. And then 14 sa gym, kung may mga event, no? And then sa ato, dapit sa engineering, we have shared facility for parking sa 8 with medicine. And then Faber Hall 11, 12 sa Atua. Then sa una na 20 sa Satellite Canteen, 9 sa front sa engineering. 18 and 19 kasi ga-park din ug unsang gina-park ka sa gara sa 18 ug 19 sa inyong mahinumduman? Ha?
Truck, ma'am?
Truck sa 18. Unsa sa 19? So mahinumduman ninyo, unsang nasa 19?
Private na car, ma'am.
Kung gamay ra kay siya nga space for private car, gamay gid kay siya nga space.
Sa motor, ma'am.
Yeah, motorcycle. Thank you. So this is motorcycle parking sa atong mga personnel sa physical plant office PPO. Usually mo nang example gani na nga sometimes makitaan sa 18 din hinga side sa ilaha mosulod ang mga truck sa PPO plant, no? So that's the thing there. Sa high po dinhi sila magpark sa 13 likod sa SBM, but SBM is also for the faculty. Sometimes diha ilang mga truck kay dako man ilang driveway. So 19 is actually motorcycle parking and sometimes 18 is motorcycle parking unless wala nagi opportunity ang ilang truck mo sulod ani nga area. But most of the time 18 and 19 is dedicated to motorcyclists. Now atong number 6 are shared parking para sa atong church goers, no? Na magsimba, they use the back parking area and sometimes atong mga personnel sa campus. The same sa number 5. Now, sa number 4, this is parking sa itong mga vice president sa school. So, we have like about 5 or 6 presidents, no? Vice president rather. So, this is a fixed parking para sa ila. Dedicated lang sa ilaha. Din sa 6, nice special parking din for the clinic. Kaya labi na, cordon din nga area. Cordon is the chain. That's only parking for ambulance and important vehicle para sa clinic, no? And ang 3 sa daytime, usually use ni siya sa mga personnel din nga area. And then after 5 o'clock, it is utilized by the graduate students who are going to school for the law and so forth and so on. 1 is used for museum, 2 and 7 is for finance and katong mga client nga magbayad og tuition, so forth and so on. Then 14 para katong sa mga tao nga kailangan gid og parking, especially kung may event sa gym. So those things are put into consideration for parking space. 16 and 17 is also parking. 16 actually is gamay nga parking dinhi dapit sa covered court. That's for motorcycle again sa atong PPO. So let's start with the data. So data usually na ay parking area number, given na to ganina, area sa parking, length and width. So sa SBM, ang gibot sa mga estudyante, measure nila end to end kung sa kataas. Kaya ang SBM ang good, parallel parking siya and wala siya marker nga white. Unlike dinhi sa number 6, likod sa chapel and dinhi nga side, na ay fixed white marker nga painting for the bay area. So dinhi kay wala man. So what happens is that ila lang gi-measure and then gi-assume nila pila ang total area in terms of length and width, unsa nga type of parking, in this case kay parallel. So kung angle atong istoryan, it's 180, no? Kay parallel is 180. Then ang total parking lot and space kay ilang gi-divide, no? Kay ang naman sila length of a car and width of a car. So ang sa length sa car kay ilang gi-divide with respect sa length dinhi so that they can actually assess pila ang supply in terms of space or the bay area. So pila ka base ang mahimo. So that's what they did for those nga nagtrabaho sa 17. Sa 6 wala kay fixed naman ang 6. So it's more than 22, I think 21. So easy ra kay ang number 6. Okay, so what they did is survey per parking slot or bay area. So slot 1 to slot 20 or bay 1 to bay 20. So sa bay 1 to 20, gitanaw nila kung pilay nagpark o kisa nga plate number ang nagpark sa 7 to 8 until 11 to 12. So that's morning kay ang color kay peach. Then blue is for afternoon. So that at the end of the day, ilang gitotal ang parker sa buntag and ang parker sa hapon. So they don't mind already sa 5 o'clock and up kay daghan na kayo opportunity for parking kay for sure halos tanan nga nagpark during the daytime already going home. So there's no issue at all sa parking. But during the daytime, tagalumba man og gamit sa space, so they kind of look at pilang demand against the supply. Questions? Wala? Sige, padayon ko ha. Question lang mo ko na. So, in the daytime assessment sa morning and afternoon, usually, pictura nila ang parking lot with respect sa plate number and the type of vehicle because after dinhi, butang man nimo ang mga detail kada cell sa plate number, no? Pag abot dinhi, they will place unsa nga type of vehicle ang nagpark. So, pwede C, car, S, SUV, MT, Motorella, pickup P, and then kung jeepney, J, so something like that. So, pag at the end of the day, ma-account nila pila de kabuok ang nagpark and nani nga type, no? Pila ka cars, pila ka SUV, pila ka yan. So, that's the second column na analysis. Then third na dayon is the utilization table. Kay weekly man ang uban ay 5 days, weekday survey na po'y weekly 7 days, okay? So ilang total dayon? Total parking space, wala man na nag-change, no? Kay parihara mag-parking area. And then pila din ang sa buntag, tayong sa hapon, that's actually number of hours. Then a number of hours po nga nag-park. And then sa 10-hour nga survey from 7 in the morning to 5 p.m. pila ang average kanang 10 hours ng utilization rate. So utilization is percentage, di ba? So it's an index. And then of course, ibutang ang parking load. So kay duha man kabuk ka week ang uban sa ilaha, so na ay week 1 and then week 2 nga survey. For sa inyong case, isa ra ka week siya nga survey or 5 days lang nga survey. Okay. Now, for this case naman, gikan adtong inyong analysis here sa type and then the volume sa parkers, gikuha din nato ang pila ka buok sa isa ka adlaw sa Monday nga survey ang nagpark more than or less than an hour. So, less than 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours nga nagpark, and then ang uban kay 5 hours. Now, sa mga faculty, and then sa faculty, kay usually naman may sticker, ID sa among sakyanan. So, because gami sticker, we are given the privilege to park more than 5 hours. So, mga administrator and faculty, more than 5 hours. Students are limited. So, kung manobra sila sa time, sa pagpark, na may security guard mo tuyok, so makitaan nga, kanang nag-overtime na nag-park ning nga student sa law or something like that. So i-call ilang attention because parking on the campus is only made for the purpose of some personnel. No? Like kaganina, ingon ko, ang vice president sa school has a very special parking space. So therefore, allocated pila nag-park on 1 hour, 2 to 3 hours, and so forth and so on. So then, kung mag-inventaryo ta, kabalo dayon ta kinsa ang naay monopoly. Okay? Maybe ang monopoly kay mga administrator. That's okay, kay given man na sa ilang nga service. But more than or less than 4 hours, kinsa man, mga student, puli-puli ram ng student gagawa sa campus. So that's okay. But at least you get a picture unsa ka ang scenario sa imong parking usage sa imong parking lot. That's the turnover table. And then of course, balik ta sa katong ganina nga lesson, no? This one, so this is the in and out survey. So masummarize na din ninyo inyuhang in and out survey. So initial count of spaces, that's Bay Area. And then pila ka buok ang nag-in and out, parking, occupancy, accumulation, load, and efficiency. So dali na lang dayon na siya basta ma-plaster na ang data. May question? Wala?
Wala, ma'am.
Okay, so kung wala, I'll show you the Excel file sample. Okay, so this is a data. Maklaro ninyo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so kani siya is a data few years ago. So na siyang data supply. Iyahang bay kay 1 to 11, no? Then na din mga nakitaan nga plate number. Okay, but this is parking lot. Saan nga parking lot? Parking lot 18, no? So sa parking profile, 18 is motorcycle. So motorcycle ra siya, so no problem. Naday vehicle. Bicycle, sorry. So naay bicycle lang nasagol, okay? So apil ang bicycle di ay kay naa siya. So very special kay gamay nga parking. And then naay nagpark nga no plate number. So that means bago siguro iyang sakyanan. So counted gyapon siya pero dili lang gyud pa siya naka-plate number. So that's okay because admittedly we know that there are new vehicles being registered pa. So that's counted. So kay motorcycle man ni siya, then kung mag-copy paste ta, mura nag motorcycle, motorcycle, motorcycle. Except kay nakay bicycle. So bicycle siguro ibutang nato din free. Okay. So that's bicycle, no? Okay, so therefore sa total accumulation dayon by type, classification siya. So na dito motorcycle pila and then pila pud ang bicycle. So wala may bicycle, so you make another column for bicycle, D. Okay. So gikan ani nga survey, i-transfer nimo kung unsa nga type of vehicle ang nagpark. That's classification against plate number data. Now let's look at plate number dayon sad. So sa plate number, kita nato gamay. Okay, 11 ka parking space ha. So makita nato nga naay consistent nagpark the entire day. Okay, so basin administrator ni siya or teacher. Okay, then napoy uban nga half day lang siya na napulihan na din sa hapon, no? So inana ka dynamic ang parking sa campus. So what happens here? What happens is that sa isa ka adlaw ang atong parking vehicle volume is 1 sa buntag, 1, 2, 3. So 1 is siya, sorry ha, 1. Isa ra ka book sa buntag. Isa ka type. And then clear sa ko. Wrong man siya. Clear content. So 1 sa buntag. Then sa hapon kay duha ka type, MX. So duha ka type. Duha ka book vehicle. So, na isa nga nag-overtime for more than 5 hours, na isa 1 hour, na isa 2 hours. So, that's total numbers of parkers. By vehicle lang, ha? So, na nga, the entire time. But, kagibulag man natong buntag ug hapon, so we count this as 1. And then, nasa pon sa afternoon, 1 gihapon. So, we assume nga na ay change og afternoon na so just 1. Di mo siya i-0 kay nag-stay man gyapon siya. So dinhi sa morning na sad kay sa tumoy we have 1 then 2, no? Bicycle ang isa. And then dinhi sad sa hapon that's 10, 10, 10, 18, tulo, no? So tulo ka vehicle. So that's just number of parkers by vehicle. So volume siya related. So you do that for data here. And then, when you do the additional sheet, mag-additional sheet man ta, no? Kay para sa mga calculations, kani inyong basihan, kay inyong mga lantaon, sa isa ka oras, kapila din ni nag-park ng isa ka tao. Hurot ang buntag. Yan, hurot po diyang hapon. So that's a very special case of parking. Monopoly. So, kana. And then, of course, you kind of know isang accumulation. So, the challenge is that if you have the data, kani nga data here, na nakay data, aware na kay kapila ka book slot or bay, you start doing the classification. Then, after classification, you go back to your data. Then, you try to check pila gyud ang utilization rate sa morning at sa afternoon. And then, check also pila ang nag-park based on the number of hours. So, pwede na ito ni-baylo pa. So, number of hours, and then utilization, and then summary na dahil sa in and out sa inyong data. Okay. Nasabtan?
Yes,
Na
ma'am.
nasabtan?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, sige.
Yes,
So, I will give kanang Mitch, pila galita kabok estudyante ani nga class nga grouping nga triad.
20 takabuk mo.
So, mga kuano, mga tulo man 21. Dili 21 ka na may uban nga nag 4. So, nata sa mga 8 siguro. 7. Mga 6 siguro. Ay 3 man. So, kung mao na may tabo, 6 times 3, 18, 20. O lagi, na yung mga uban nag 4. So, kung mao ni ang imong data nga nadawatan, that's okay. Kaya diretso na siya, puro man yung motorcycle. But some data looks like this as well, no? Basi matingala mo, dahil siya puro mama, but that's the same, no? Nani iyang data. So, ang data niya is another data. Lingon siya, profile-wise, wala na siya naghatag sa length and width. Ningon lang siya nga parallel, then ang bay area is 13. No? So, parallel is 180 degree. So, say 0 or 180 degree, that's okay. So, asa man siya dapit? Sa 17. So, 17 is here, no? Kani siya nga part. So, gitan-aw niya, unsang nag-park sa 17? Ang 17 di ay kay accounted kanang SBM at tubangan mo na siyang 17. So, kinsa nag-park sa 17? So, daghan kay sila na ay nag-car, nga C, na ay SUV, na ay motorcycle, na ay P is pick up. And then, kana ang nag-park, motorcycle, SUV, car, and pick up. So, mo ni siya ang data karon. So it's very unique. Dili siya pareha tong ganina nga diretso na kay motorcycle man halos or bicycle so duha ra gyud. Kani siya kay daghan kay dynamic iyang parking. So it's still there na kay Bay Area 13 and na kay time and then plate number and then vehicle type. So maghimo na lang kag another table sa vehicle type diri para at least ma-count nimo the table for vehicle type. Kay di ba dinhi sa atong table we have vehicle type by classification sa morning o sa afternoon mo na importante. So you kindly do that for this exercise. Kay kani siya, iyang gibutang lang is ang raw data. Pinaka-raw pa lang ni. So you have to analyze the raw data. So daghan ni siya, no? Okay. Ato lang klaruhon, it's still morning and afternoon. So you have cut off sa 7 to 12 and then 12 to 5. So it's a default nga time cutting off two separate data identity or ID, morning ID and afternoon ID for parkers on the campus. So, that's it. So, kung ayaw lang mo katingala kung ano inani yung forma ha, that's vehicle type. Na siya sa PowerPoint. So, later, I will give out the sample. So, I have already karon 6 na ka-exercise sheet. I will add siguro mga 4 pakabuok so that it will become 10. So sa 10, pili lang dayon mo sa inyong gusto nga area. Okay? Okay ba na? Okay ba na tanan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, tagai lang kog time to distribute this muna. Taga na kog link si Mitch And then Mish, ikaw na lang bahala dayon og kanang share sa link ha. Basta kay wala lay duplication, kana lang kay daghan man ako ihatag para naging may option. So you ask your classmates kung nanay nakakuha ani nga number kay first sa to gani? First come first serve nga pag reserve sa data, no?
Isa-isa lang ka area, ma'am.
Yeah, isa-isa lang ka area kay nay area nga 8 days kay gamay ra kayo iyang bay. Napoy uban area nga dako kayang bay. So 5 ra ka adlaw akong gipa-analyze kana. So kana lang siya. Okay. The same raman tag methodology, lahi lang tag data. And then the other thing is that this is already kapila nga exercise.
5 man na
Yeah,
lang.
very good. 5. So, ika-5 na ni nga exercise, walay labot ang midterms. So, next week, when I have my lesson na dayon, it will be no more calculations, but I'll give you practice problem para sa finals. And then, sa final exam, kasi only have 1 week na lang, the first week of October is already, second week of October is already the exam week. I think sa 8 man siguro. I'm not wrong. No, sa lagi 8, 7, 6, 7, 8 na week no na exam. So, I will give you kuan siguro kanang case study for analysis, pero more or less discussion lang siya, dili kayo calculation. So, case analysis, tagaan mo problem issue, ang topic nakatong sa traffic impact assessment sa last na to ang topic, and travel demand. That way, makabalo na mo mag-assess. So, kanina siya ang last nga exercise for calculation. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay ba? Okay, sige.
Okay, ma'am.
Sige. So, then the next topic, medyo mubo lang siya. Akong ihatag sa inyong opportunity to read because medyo daghan basahunon, but manageable man siya. Okay, lagi kayo. Allow me to share muna the slide. Makita ninyo ang lesson 9?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Dili, wala ko nakashare. Okay, lesson 9. So, lesson 9 is origin, destination, study, and analysis. So, kani siya is a prelude or introduction to travel demand and traffic impact assessment. So, as I've mentioned, ang last na topic is ang katunduha, travel demand and traffic impact. And then, wala na may calculation adto except that case study ako ihatag. So, let's allow me to give the idea sa origin, destination lang, study, and analysis so that mas masabtan ninyo ang travel demand and then ang traffic impact. Okay, so I borrowed the topic from Mohammed Harsh of Urban Planning and a lovely professional university. Okay, so some terminologies nga tong i-fix muna is origin asa kagikan, destination asa kapaingon. So, ang usa ka complete information for a person's trip is actually origin destination. So, akagikan, kapaingon. So, that's one single trip. And we call that OD, origin destination. Now, ang usa ka tao, it could have one or more trips. So, single trip sa isa ka person, or multiple trip, no? Kay usahay ang sa ka person mag-move from point to point. So, kung trip lang usa lang ka person, so ako lang nag-travel, kapila ko mo travel sa isa ka adlaw. That's the point. So, if for example, ang atong i-take into consideration is a father is kan sa balay, mato sa trabaho, then from trabaho mo uli. So, maybe that's the cycle of a parent, no? O sa father. But a mother, different. Kaya possibly, ang mother can katud pa sa mga bata, sa daycare center, and then ando din siya sa iyang opisina. So, paabot sa opisina, paghapon, kuwaon niyang ang mga bata, and then sa daycare center, and then ay siya mauli. So, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 ka-trips sa mother, no? So, that's a person trip, varies with respect to person. So, ang question na nato next, if kung mag-travel siya kadaghan o kausal lang sa isa ka adlaw, kaduha, paingon o pabalik, itong question na is, unsa iyang gigamit para maka-travel siya? So, nag-backlay lang ba siya? Nag-bike ba siya? Nasakay ba siya public transport or private transport? So, those are the modes, no? Unsang mga modes sa iyang pag-travel. Now, sa modes of travel, let's say si mama kay nagbaklay or naghatod sa mga bata to school. So nagbaklay ra sila, then pag abot sa school sakay siya bus paingon sa iyang opisina. Then sa hapon sakay gyapon siya bus paingon sa school, and school nagbaklay siya paingon sa balay. So ang modes is only bus and walking. So pila ka percent sa isa ka adlaw day si mama mag bus by mode, and then pila ka percent sa iyang trip ang pag-walk. So that's a mode in terms of modal share. Na pila ka percent of the time gagamit siya ani nga mode. Now, daw si Papa, pwede man siya lahi iyang mode, no? Let's say, ang isa ka parent kay father works in a pharmaceutical company. So, kuan siya, medrep, medical representative. So, gikan sa balay, moadto siya sa opisina, kuaon na iyahang mga stocks, then moadto siya hospital to hospital para ma-distribute ang stocks. Balik siya sa opisina, mag-create og inventory, and from there, ayap siya muli sa balay. So, if you notice, ang iyang modal share is purely car. But daghan siyang trips. Multi-trip yang gakahimo. Multiple trips yang gakahimo. Kay medrep man yang trabaho. Pero isa ra ka mode yang gagamiton. It's just his car, no? So the purpose of the trip is related to work. The purpose of a mother is related to go to school and then go to work, no? Nga daw di sa weekend, mas ma-multiply pag ginag-unsa ang purpose sa trip ni mama. Kaya pwede man siya mag-grocery, mag-go sila sa church. So multiple ang trip, multiple pud ang purpose. So sa isa day ka household, individual persons have different trips, no? So ang mga bata, kung atong pangutanon, below 18 years old is not allowed, no? So the one who answers the questions of origin destination is the head of the family. Usually ang father or ang mother. Kaya dili pwede ang underage. And then ang 18 can answer for themselves unsa ilahang trips in a day in terms of OD survey. But mga bata dili pwede kadi man sa kabalo pagtubag sa questionnaire. So how is it done then to complete the information of origin destination survey? So usually the purpose of the survey is to look at modal share. Modal share in terms of transportation engineering is to look at unsa kasagara ang gagamiton sa pagbiyahe sa usa ka tawo so that ma-allocate ang investment sa infrastructure development. So for example, sa Japan, 48% of the time, the railway man sila. So expected, ang ilang government will always look at investment for railway or trains. No? Dili sila ga-focus sa mga private cars because if you look at private cars, it's only 12%. That's almost 3 to 4 times ang rail sa iyahang percentage. That's, kung ato ni siyang i-3 times or 4 times, it's 48. It's almost like overarching gid ang railways application. Now, sa bus is gamatoy. It's 3%. It's way below the private transport. So, walay ganahan day magbus. But if you look at walking daghan, and cycling. So, in that sense, maghatod ko railway station, butangan na ko og parking lot for bicycles or private transport, and butangan na ko sidewalk akong mga facility from the sentro to the barangay area or hinterlands para ang mga tao maka-walk. So that's how you look at infrastructure development and facility when you do origin destination survey. So balik ta. Origin destination survey is very important to look at this matter. So, naay wrong item kung dinhi sa Canada, sa Toronto for example, ibutang nimong railway and then dili mo na kay ang mga tao kay ilang preference is private transport. 65% of the time private. So wala dayga pabor og private kanang sa railway. Kapuyan sila, hasulan sila matug train station. So 24% lang ilahang rail. So it's 1/3 over that private transport. And then ang walk and cycle is only 8%. So why should I place a lot of bicycle lanes, a lot of walking area when people will just really prefer to drive with their private transport? Well, of course, because ang Toronto area is a very open area and then dako siyang space. So therefore, ang tao mas prefer nila private car. So that's given sa environment nila. Okay. Sa Tokyo, kay gamay man kay ang sentro, so they would prefer railway lang kay they can really walk and cycle and less mag-private. So if I look at Vienna, Vienna is in Europe. It's near to Germany and France. This is actually Austria, no? This is not Australia but Austria. So sa Austria naman, wala kayo sila railway, no? If you look at it, wala sila railway. So unsay naa sa ila kasagara? Public transport. Public would mean bus. Wala man sila jeepney, wala sila motorela. So public transport here would mean 39% of the time ga bus sila. Then 27% of the time ga ano sila ga walk, and then 6% ang ga cycle, and ang uban naga private transport. So expected siguro ani kung lagyo nagikay nga area ga private, and then ang katong mga dugol ga public bus lang sila, or the walk or the cycle. So that's in Vienna, no? Now in China, different ang scenario sa China. Public transport 33%, 20% ang private, but 27% of the time walking ang mga tao sa Shanghai. Shanghai is one of the capital of China, no? So that's the important item to look at. And then of course na sila electric bike 10% and bicycle 10%. So if you look at it, 20% ang bicycle, whether electric or manual. So in investment, you provide public transport bus, no, or mga sakyanan nga public transport and roads. Then you provide cycling lanes, and then you provide walking area kay 27% man imong ga-walk, and gamay ra dayon ang para sa private. Okay. Now sa Sydney, Australia, and mas grabe ka worse. Kay private transport is 69%. Very few would walk, very few will go to buses and railway. So people would tend to drive on their private transport. Similar to Toronto, but grabe lang siya kay 69. And then sa Singapore, it's nice to look at because it's almost proportional, no? 29% private, bus is 25, walking is 22, railway is about 20, that's 19. So if you look at it, medyo siya proportion. But karon, this is a study back in 2008. Now, it's more expensive to buy private transport in Singapore because taas ang tax, importation tax, ownership tax, and then yearly nga tax for private. So gakagamay na ni siya karon. They are more into the investment of railway. So gi-increase nila, and then gi-increase on puning walking and bus para dili na kay mag-drive ang mga. Gamay kay Singapore, more siya kagayan kadako. So that's the reason na karon mo na change na ni over time. So the beauty of understanding origin destination is you will know asa nimo ibutang ang infrastructure o sa imong strategy to allocate everyone when they need to make a certain trip in terms of purpose, location, and ang ilang modes. So dili pwede masayop sa imong intentions kung nakita nimo mao din ang need nila sa mga tao. Okay, so by definition, OD is a survey providing information or picture of the trip patterns and travel choices of people in your locality. So usually, this is related to household, mga person, individual sa household, and ang ilang trips nga buhat sa isa ka adlaw sa kasingan. So it's related to traffic patterns, characteristics, trends, input of travel demand for, let's say, later next week, mag-travel demand man ta, and then input for travel demand forecasting and planning. Kay over time, mag-change ang population, mag-change ang landscape sa usa ka syudad or area, mag-change pud ang needs sa tao sa pag-travel. So, ang part ana consideration is ang implementation sa policy and then the infrastructure development sa usa ka area. So karon, for example, ang nakita nato na pandemic, so ang need when you look at travel demand is dili public transport kay 50% naman ang capacity na karon tungod sa social distancing inside the vehicle. So what we can do is provide bicycle lanes and walking area for people to just walk with respect to pandemic control. Okay, so ang purpose sa OD is to look at land use and zones based on origin destination, to look at household characteristics of trip sa isa ka family. Sa Philippines, kaya itong family kay more than 5, no? Sa Japan and some countries in China and some Korea, they have only 2 members in a family outside of the parents. So usually, duha ka anak. And sa ato kay daghan man, so daghan ang trips mahimo. So also, to look at the time of the day when journeys are made. So sa uban, mga bata, the time of the day they will go to a journey is first thing in the morning and last thing in the afternoon. And so ang trip purpose is mag-eskwela. So those are the things to consider. And ang mode of travel could be gatod ni papa or mama, nag-walk sa sila, or nagsakay sila public transport. So those things being considered over time. So these are the specific objectives of public transport. Ako na lang skip kaya babawasan ninyo. Let's go to some preliminary application. So how do we do OD study? So OD study can be done for a household interview survey, HIS, or HIS, household interview survey, or could be done by screenline or what we call Scordon. So let's just an example sa likod. So cordon and screenline is actual road survey. Ang household is household interview survey. So you can do both, no? So unsang approach sa methodology sa cordon and screenline. So ang usa ka syudad atong is say nga nay barrier kay red ang line sa mga entry points. So ang ato lang taga-ano pabor is the entry here. And so dinhi ta mabutag RTA, DP o city engineering. Mag roadside survey ta sa cordon line. So ang atong expectation is kung mauning syudad sa Cagayan, atong gatanan pila ni sulod sa Cagayan, pila ni gawas. Unsay trip purpose, kapila sila mobiyahe sa isa ka adlaw. So those are the questions in a questionnaire for a cordon survey. Sa usa ka area nga gibutangan og boundary, no? Sa Cagayan, when we did the survey sa 2018, because I was asked to help, in 2018, we cordoned, I think, 4 sections of Cagayan. So, ang entry point sa main highway will be Bugo and Ipunan. And then sa Tubangan din entry point sa pier, port area, kaya naman tayo mga naman tayo pier, no? Sulod mo naman tao sa pier. And then sa gawas din sa Bukidnon area is Lumbia, in the Lumbia area. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4 ka entry points. Gitan-aw na mo kisay nasulod, kisay ni gawas. Okay. So mga nag-support sa amo tabang sa pagkuha sa data is ang RTA, ang mga surveyor, city engineering o DPWH. So that is cordon, no? Gi-circle tapos gipuntangan og red line para matawag sila, panaog sa sakyanan, interview. The other one is screen line. So screen line is dividing the city into 2 parts, especially sa Cagayan. No, we have a river in between. So na District 1, na District 2. District 2 sa east, District 1 sa west. So kung naaman siya bridge, so ang bridge mo is screen line, pang filter na point. So gibuhat is dinhi nga point, butangan og RTA, DP, city engineering, and surveyors to kuan na pod interview drivers and passengers along this screen line points. So ang screen line points na to kay murag 6 kabuk bridges. We have Kauswagan Bridge, Marcos Bridge, J.R. Borja Extension nga bridge. We have Cathedral, Isalina Bridge, and then we have Rotonda. And then last one is ang Tagwanaw Bridge. So tanan gibutangan na siya og surveyor para lang mo collect og data. Screen line. So usually puntanan sa kapaingon, kagikan, nganong gibiyahe ka, kay kapila ka mo biyahe ani nga area. Okay, so kanang things. And then natay household survey. So ang survey di ay daghan pa maagi for origin destination, no? We have home interview survey, roadside for screen line and cordon, which is roadside interview survey. Pwede pud ka magamit sa postal office. So postal card, ipadala ang questionnaire sa postal office, and then dawaton kay ibalik raman din sa office sa government ang result sa questionnaire. And then of course, naiuban kay registration plate number. So kani siya kay i-capture ninyo na mga CCTV camera kani nga car mo ni plate number nakitaan ko ni sa Bugo, ni adto din siya Kugon, ni gawas din siya Lumbia. So at least matrace by plate number. Ang tags pod kay naay specific tags, color and type. So for example, katong jeep nga ang iyahang kuan atubangan kay naay Santo Niño. Nakitaan siya sa Bugo, nisulod siya sa Kugon, nibalik siya sa Bugo. So that's tagging, the same vehicle type. Kani siya kay the same vehicle with a plate number. So usually kaning duha they use CCTV camera, no? Kay very important ang tagging, registration nga dili manual kay lisod kayo pangitaon ang car. So dinhi siya ibutang sa CCTV. So that ang surveyor dayon will just be in the office, ila dang reviewon ang video, then i-check nila asa nakita ni siya nga car, asa na ni siya paingon, asa siya nabag. So it's not interview but rather on-site nga survey for a vehicle. So there are techniques to collect the data. For example, in Cagayan de Oro sa 2018, ang atong population sa 2015, when we collect the data, walay population sa 2018, kaya ang pinaka-latest is 2015 man. So when we look at 2015 nga data, population sa NSO, nakita namo ka Cagayan daw 675,000 katao. 675,000 katao from barangay 1 to barangay 80. So because of that, what we did is make sure nga enough among data para mag-represent sa tanang tao sa Cagayan. So, we went into household survey. Household survey, we conducted about 11,000 household na survey. Very expensive, 11,000. So what we did is niadto mi sa mga barangay, napatabang sa kapitan, sa barangay council, explaining to them the survey and the importance of the survey. And so gitawag din sa kapitan ang mga head of the family or members nga representing the family para at least matrace ang kada person sa isa ka balay asa siya gabiyahe. So usually ang head sa family mo na siya nga akong anak nagtrabaho dani, akong anak nagskwela, akong bana inani, ako nang narbaho ani. So kabalo siya sa iyang trips more or less. That's for the household interview survey. And then, because nag-cordon me and nag-screen line sa dalan sa Cagayan, ang mga driver among gi-interview po ug ang passenger dito sa cordon survey. So, pero kana siya gamay ra, 2 days ra mi, 2 days per location para at least dili kayo matraffic ang dalan at the same time dili makulbaan ang mga tao nganong gitawagon sila papanaog sa sakyanan. So just very short. So this is an example of household interview survey. So my question is, number of trips made, asa gikan, origin, asa paingon, destination, unsay purpose sa trip, unsa imong gigamit nga sakyanan or means to travel, and then unsa ka nga time milakaw o niabot sa imong destination. Very basic. So then, of course, na demographic. Pagtanon nimo sa type inyong balay, pila ka buok tao sa isa ka balay, pila ka buok ang gender, inani sa female and male. Kung naay mga nationalities nga different o race, so identify unsa nga klase nga family, and then kung namoy tag-iyamog sakyanan, unsa nga mga sakyanan na nasa balay, kinsa sa inyo ang driver, pila ang family income, overall family income sa household, and so on. So this is how we do demographic data. And then of course, we look at population by size. So ang information sa interview will be household muna and then din ang journey. So asang address, Barangay Carmen. Unsang nga zone, Barangay 2. Pila inyong tao sa isa ka household. So 5 mi, 3 ka anak, parents. And then unsang mga age, ani mga tao sa balay, unsa iyang gender. Then kisay nag-earn, pila ang iyang income sa isa ka household, combined income, average monthly income. Then kisay na sakyanan, kisay ga-drive, pila ka buok sakyanan. And then of course, total household income dayon. So sa journey, batanong din nimo, kisay nagabiyahe every day. And unsay purpose sa trip sa kada tao, and then unsay ang gagamiton nga means para makabiyahe. So those are the things to consider. So sa roadside, the same na siya, except nga ipanaog lang nimo siya using screenline method or cordon survey. So it's the same question, the same application, but this time you're asking drivers and passengers to answer your question or questionnaire. Sa postcard, the same questionnaire but ipadala lang sa post office. Sa Australia, sa akong friend, si Dr. Babiano, dili ma-renew ilahang national ID kung dili sila mag-answer sa questionnaire. Online man ni siya. So, kailangan moadto ka sa online national survey tubagon nimo siya ayuhon kay para imuhang residence ID ma-renew. Kay murag siya renewal sa sakyanan no. Kung di ka magtarong og pa-check up, adto sa opisina sa LTO, dili ka taga-renewal sa imong license. So, the same na sa ilaha residence ID. So they will have to answer through online survey. Now, What if man kung di ko kabalo mag-online, kaya di ko kabalo mo basa, no read and no write, mga aborigines sa Australia. Or, di ko kabalo mo gamit ang computer, walay computer sa balay. So, to that extent, ang barangay council o ilahang council sa ilang area will go house to house and check kinsa ang nanginahanglan og support so that the city office of the city population survey will go to the house and interview them katong walay di ka mo basa, no read and no write, and katong dili ka access og computer. So kana siya. So that's special lang. Pero for most of those who can really do survey online, they are required to do postcard questionnaire survey or online survey. So sa karaan when I had an experience sa National Center for Transportation Studies sa UP when I was a student sa Masteral, Japan at that time was trying to vie for the 19 what was that 2000 I think 2002 nga kuan Olympics wala sila kadaog, but because they want to know if kanang can people tourists can go to Japan without the language, they make kanang mga pictures to tell this is the dining area, this is the clinic or hospital kato mga tourists. So nagpa-survey sila ana kung masabtan ba ilang mga symbol para sa Olympics. So with that, they use postcard survey questionnaire across Asia and across the globe. So ibalik nimo sa postal office, ila din tong dawaton, ila tong reviewon kung kato nga mga applications is suitable para sa mga tourists or mga visitors during the Olympics. So that was a postcard survey questionnaire. Hayahay lang adto kay after sa survey tagaan din mi og pahalipay because we were be given the incentive kay amo magitubag og tarong. So nadeng ko pencil case na kompleto og sets of gamit para sa school. Mo to ilang thank you for the postcard questionnaire survey. And then of course, CCTV camera, you have number plate survey or tag on vehicles. Okay, so basahon na lang ninyo yung uban ha. So, ang interview question usually it goes like this. Very simple, straightforward. Where did you begin your trip? Where will you end the trip? What is the purpose of the trip? What are you bringing in your trip? And how frequent do you travel on this road? So, very simple. Then you can add more if you want. So this is a survey example, survey sheet, then survey within the bus or sa roadside. So akong experience ani kay nag-interview ko sa Lod sa train station because Metro Rail Authority MRA sa atong MRT kuan sila nag-survey sila kay during Macapagal Arroyo as a president nag-invest siya og train station nga improvement sa LRT ug MRT. So because of that, we went out to mi sa mga train station, nangutana mi sa mga passenger if they're happy with the train, if they want more service of trains, sa ilang demand and so forth. So from North SM, North Quezon City to Taft Avenue sa South, we get a lot of data and information para sa mga riders sa train. So this is onboard survey and roadside survey questionnaire. So this is the form of the survey. Pwede siya inani pero kapoy man ni kay daghan kay imong isulat. Kani siya better kay ipang check lang nimo. And so therefore pag mapadagan sa computer, diretso na dayon magawas ang result sa imong origin destination survey. And then we can do the pie chart, the origin destination chart. We can also do spatial para makita nimo asa ang mga tao gapaingon sa kalayo. Then sa isa ka barangay, kinsa ang naa diha. So for example, origin destination, ang naa sa Kugon Market is mga tao nga nagnegosyo. Pero kumunta na kag kagikan, singula taga Bugo man ko, akong negosyo kay dinhi sa Kugon. Taga Lumbia, taga kuan ko, taga Tagwanaw man ko. Nagatrabaho ko di sa Kugon kay tindera. Dini ko sa Lumbia, gatrabaho ko sa Kugon kay inani. Taga uptown ko, Xavier Heights, gadto ko sa Kugon kay inani. And then taga Bulwa ko, gadto ko sa Kugon. So, more or less kabalo ka nga na yung mga taga bangko, taga shop, na mga sales lady or people here are not really from this area. They go to Cogon, Barangay 33, because naaman dito ilang work, and therefore klaro kay sa imuha nga there should be roads going to that area. Kaya a lot of people are going to that area based on origin and destination. So that's how you project asa ang allocation sa infrastructure development sa usa ka syudad. So this is an example sa roadside survey sa UP and then this one sa NLEX SLEX. So NLEX kay nag-survey mi sa mga tao nga gapaingon sa Baguio and Ilocos Norte. Sa SLEX kay South, paingon Laguna, paingon Santa Rosa, something like that. And this is the sample nga book sa origin destination survey. Now, nga nang kailangan ang origin destination survey? It's because that is where we do travel demand analysis, kaning red part. No? Travel demand analysis is important for us to know asa ang need sa tao para siya magbiyahe. And this part here's analysis is part of what we call the impact assessment, traffic impact assessment or transportation impact assessment. So traffic impact assessment will be related to the project setting, travel demand process, transportation impact analysis, and mitigation measures. So kung nag-build nga structure, let's say a building, nga condominium siya. So pag naog sa mga tao, aha man siya magsakay, asa man inyong mga sakyanan, nabay parking, nabay public transport. So those are related to project description and setting, and then the impact in terms of demand. So you have to look at how it affects people on the road kung madugangan og tao ang isa ka population. So then you create the mitigation measure. Magdugang ba tao parking area? Magdugang ba tao public transport para mahatod ang serbisyo sa mga nagtuyo sa usa ka condominium? Or i-allow nato nga sila tanan mag-park og car nila, and then we will provide the parking space. But ang problem is makongest samot ang dalan kay daghan na kay tao. So that's part of traffic impact assessment. Okay. So next week I will discuss travel demand na dayon and traffic impact assessment. So sa Japan, if they do anything, bridge, railway project, airport, seaport, all those things, every time mag-build sila, even if isa lang naka residential area, subdivision, or vertical condominium, or commercial area, it always goes to traffic impact assessment and then lantawon on travel demand assessment based on origin destination survey. Because for sure, if you build something, people will say, build it and people will come. Imong tindahan, kay for sure, na tao mo na sa imong tindahan. True, but ang dalan pa imong sa tindahan nga imong gi-build should have been also built. No? So, maghimo taog mall or hospital, we should also make sure nga kung naay nanginahanglan sa service sa usa ka mall for shopping or sa hospital for medical purposes, ihatod pud nato ang serbisyo sa sakyanan o dalan para mahatod ang tao didto. No? So the purpose in itself is not the ends to a means, but the means is the road para sa tao nga maadto. So it's very important to look at traffic impact assessment based on travel demand and travel demand based on origin destination survey sa mga household. Dili man 100% imo makita, but by sampling at least kabalo ka pila. So so far nasabtan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So ako lang example. 2 days ago, today is Friday, no? So last Wednesday, somebody called me mga 8:30 sa buntag. It was my former dean, si Engineer Civiliano, Antonio Civiliano, our grandfather sa College of Engineering. He teach part-time, but sa inyo sigong batch, wala pa siya ka-teach kay medyo naigo man siya sa COVID, so tigulang na po si sir. I think mga 75 nang siguro si sir. But he's very good, I'm very grateful to Engineer Civiliano because when I was a student, he was my teacher, and he kind of is very fond of me. Kaya kung papa kay Antonio, na iyang anak kay Annabel. So, iyang anak kasi Annabel kay doktor ng anak. So, pag work na ako, he helped me find a job. And then when I didn't like my work sa construction, so he helped me to teach. No? Nag-invite ko niya mag-teach sa College of Engineering. So when he invited me to teach for a couple of years, ingon din siya, pag masira sa UP with a scholarship, apply, So wala biyo kabalibad sa akong teacher. So nag-yes ko. So nagmaster ako sa UP, MSCE. And then after that, ingon na po siya nga, wala kay lingaw, wala man sir. Sige, pag doctoral. So he always push me, no? Encourage me to move and be pushed to my purpose to God. So very grateful the other day, siya. Dahil nako'y concerned because Bishop Ledesma called me and then nami concern sa transfer sa Xavier campus to the uptown area. So, kabalo mo, ana? Nga i-transfer ang
Yes,
Xavier
ma'am.
campus.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
ibalhin siya sa taas sa Manresa. So, na-impact, no? Environmental impact pala na, EIS, Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA. So, environmental impact because ang campus is a agriculture area, no? But ilang explain that there's development, so therefore it transfers sa El Gaucho. El Gaucho is in Bukidnon. So if you go up to Sairi Highway before ka makaabot sa Dimalag or something. Basta kay pinaka first town sa Bukidnon. Nalimot ko sa term, something. So sa left side, makita na nimo dako kayo nga forest area. This is a land area for agriculture nga gigift sa usa ka private entity kang Xavier o Ateneo de Cagayan because it's a rancho. And that ranch now will be developed for Xavier Campus Agriculture later on. So ang Manresa kay piot man kay siya, gamay ra kay siya for development sa atong mga agricultural students, balhin siya dito. Nganong kailangan ang agriculture students nga mag-develop ilang area? It's because we need food security sa atong syudad, no? The Xavier is trying to make sure na natin sa food security, di lang ta dependent sa Bukidnon as provider, but rather our own city will be provided by the campus technology in learning agricultural developments. So kana siya. But the thing is, kung eksakta siya sa Manresa, ang atong bishop, si Bishop Ledesma, Archbishop Ledesma, is very concerned kay tungod sa traffic impact sa campus when it goes to be in the uptown. So ang target is in 2035, I think graduate na mo anang time and siguro engineers na mo puhon, the campus will be transferred and ang problem is isa ra ang road sa taas which is the main road of Masterson. So nag-ask siya kung naaba ko'y traffic, naaba ko'y estudyante sa traffic nga pwede ma-pursue. Kung sir na mas na mga topic tanan akong 8 ka group sa transportation. So wala ba'y mahimo ana bell ko atong i-try ka Ma'am Julie kay namda siya group na wala pa. So sige, okay. Na wala kay study diha. Syempre naman ko study. So yung mga naman ko sir pero it's a private entity nagpa-feasibility studies ako And mananghid ko kay dili man ako lang ang data no gibayran ko to investigate. So fair enough, it was alumnus sa Xavier campus na to. Ato pag yung board of trustees si Engineer Paras, I'm sure you know kantag iya sa sana Dahilayan Park o kaning sana nang nasa water something sa Ipunan. What was that? Nang dako bitaw kay nga tourist area diha.
Seven
Seven
Seas.
Seas.
Ha?
Seven
Seven
Seas.
Seas.
Yeah, Seven Seas. Thank you kayo. Seven Seas. So katong time previous, ang mga student na ako kay nag-OJT sila sa Seven Seas when they were trying to develop the area. So mga civil engineering students na ako sa una, karon na sa mga DP, civil engineering. So dito sila sa una, so nakasulod lugar ko sa Seven Seas. Ang tag-iya si Engineer Paras. So Engineer Paras in 2019 hired me and 2 faculties po sa IE to look at investigation, feasibility studies sa impact kung mag-build ta o gondola system para sa uptown and downtown area sa Cagayan. So lumad man siya nga Cagayano no si Engineer Paras. So he's very passionate to serve Cagayan de Oro. So siya sa ako, can we look at unsay mahitabo kung ibalhin ang Xavier sa taas, decongest ang traffic, and I want to have investor nga kuan kaning ang investor will be willing to invest on the gondola project from downtown area to uptown. So, true enough, gi-investigate na ako, ang gwapo yung resulta. But dili siya traffic impact assessment. It's more on feasibility study. Pero part sa feasibility study, portion ana is traffic impact. So, ang resulta is very good. But nag-ingon po ang DP nga they will also build roads. So, more or less, safe na daan. Kay DPWH promise na magdugang silang dalan di nga area. And bridge development, additional bridge, and then of course, ang possible nga gondola project. But I told Engineer Civiliano nga, sir, ka nang gihire man ko, so you kindly ask kung okay sa iya, i-share na ko ang information because it's confidential pa at this point in time. The idea is shared, but the details of the idea, the project is confidential. So, mo to yung gitawag last Wednesday. And pagka Thursday, gahapon, nag-meeting sila sa 10 o'clock. So, I was asking, they were asking if pwede daw ko appeal at 10 o'clock. So, I'm sorry. Kay na po ko'y bus project sa Manila, PITX. What's PITX? Passenger, integrated terminal for passengers sa bus and jeep sa regional application sa Manila. So, it's the main station in Manila trying to look at say scenario karon sa COVID and ang mga tao nga magsakay with limited bus and capacity sa Manila labi na karon sa COVID nga time. So, nakoy project dito and problematic siya, kailangan tabangan. And so I said to them na dili ko makapil sa meeting sa Oro Chamber of Commerce kagahapon. So what I'm saying is the opportunity is really there, no? Ayaw lang kay ninyo i-limit inyong world nga civil lagi ka. I have students nga naa karon sa Marina, Water, nakoy student nga naa sa NEDA, so Infrastructure Development and Budget Office, nag-transportation pagid siya. Nakoy student nag-pilot, babae. Okay, and licensed pilot na siya. And I have a student nga, asa tong isa, na siya sa, how to say, Department of Health, DOH, no? So ilang trabaho kay building structure sa DOH para sa mga services sa clinics, sa mga barangay, sa mga hinterland area sa region. So I hope inana mo ka flexible sa inyong engineering field. Learn as much but try to see everything in a perspective nga wide para inyong application wider than the rectangular box of the civil engineering course. So make sure nga daghan mo, no, flexible mo trabaho ani, pwede mo trabaho ani, especially karon sa COVID kay wala kay trabaho ang uban. So I also invite you kay PICE XU is already promoting conduit. So sa inyo kay fourth year naman mo should be handled sa OJT. Either mag-volunteer mo or sa inyong OJT hour. And then, ang katong sa second year, third year, pwede na mo sila ipa-absorb sa mga projects sa under ERC for conduit. And then, kung mo-graduate na sad mo and wala pa mo nag-take sa board exam, please feel free to volunteer as research assistant sa atong XUARC kay daghan opportunity. And ang uban pod kay gabayaran man namo para sa ilang service, no? Even if di sila licensed na engineer because part-time is part-time, no? It's not really a bread and butter, but at least nakagibuhat, especially kasi sa COVID na time. So right now, sa College of Engineering XURC, serving as the head karon sa office, I have like 11 ka project. 7 of that, murag ako, na ako'y trabaho, water, envi, transport. But I think 4 or 5 of that na incoming pa is dili ako. So, igo lang ko nag-facilitate. So, certainly, daghan opportunity sa civil engineering course. Just make sure nga flexible mo sa work nga ihatag para you learn as much, no? Dili lang sa mga technical, but also how you manage engineering problems and solutions that will be helping, no? Not only yourself, but also the output of your work. Maybe the community, maybe the product, kay na may gibuild na something. And then, na ang mabutan. Okay. Next question. So far. May
Wala,
question? Wala
Wala
na?
pa,
Wala,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Sige, so I will give to Michelle the link for the exercise. I will give mga 10. You choose kung sa inyong gusto and then submit this Saturday next week uh, as an exercise additional sa inyo karong link, no? And then I will give sometime on Wednesday siguro or siguro Monday, pwede na ako mahatag ang problem case study para sa traffic impact assessment and sa travel demand. So, before I end, allow me to share isa pa ka PowerPoint para sa traffic impact. At least aware na mo daan.
Ma'am, ang katong problem may mong ihatag sa Monday, ma'am, kay i-submit gyapon to sa Saturday.
No, not necessary. Mag-atag lang kong schedule, ha?
Okay.
Okay. RPP project. Ano sa to? Nakawala na ko. What is that? LTFRB. Okay. Kajik lang. Ako sa itago kay ito ano. Kasi tago yun. Confidential labing. Saan ako? Screen. Na may nakita. Wala pa.
Wala, ma'am.
Sige. Maybe pag adto sa specialized course na may professional course no sa second half of our quarter, kita ninyo mga project which is related to sustainable engineering and then I can share more sa transportation at sa disaster application. So that na-appreciate ninyo ang trabaho nga beyond sa civil engineering nga work. Asan ako? Okay, this one. Sige. Makita ni?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is investigation for something ako nang i-hide sa taas. Kaya that's traffic impact assessment. So, ang nagtrabaho is myself and si Sir Jeff. And then this is the data. This is the outline. So, more siya report, technical report. So this is na cover page. Pero gyapon siya FS no project background, area and road profile, traffic volume, level of service analysis, travel demand. That's the one I gave you. Baseline and projected value, traffic impact summary of results and conclusion, and then recommendations. Pinakadaghan ang recommendation. This is where traffic engineering and management comes in para ma-mitigate ang mga impact. Public transport facility para ma-mitigate ang impact, pedestrian facility and parking facility para di ma-decongest ang dalan and ma-serve properly ang mga tao sa transportation. So, ang appendix includes intersection traffic volume profile, on-site transportation and road traffic, and travel demand mode matrix. So daghan kay figures na more gabi siya thesis. But very simple lang siya kung naa kay data. Wala kay data, maglabad gid imong ulo. But if na kay data, no problem. So this is similar to what we're doing now. Secondary ni halos tanan sa taas. And then primary, nag-collect og data sa road, intersection profile, mid-block profile, level of service, i-grade nimo ang dalan, then unsang impact sa traffic volume, and then unsang mga classification sa intersection ni siya, no? Left, right, and through. And then unsa dayon ang travel time and delay. So wa na ko nag-discuss sa travel time and delay kay di na maapas, but dali ra man ni siya, simple ra kaayo. And then of course, after ana, you have person trips. This is origin destination study. Travel demand na ni siya. Person trips per day, origin, destination, sulod o gawa sa facility, unsa mga sakyanan mi gamit. And then morning matrix. Barangay to barangay, kinsa ang pinakadaghan nga mahatod nga volume of traffic kay kani nga area for example would require nga daghang tawo moadto didto. So imo siyang i-troubleshoot daan pila ka tawo ang gi-expect nimo maghimo sa trips. And then so maghatag dayon ka sa forecasting, origin destination within the barangay and outside sa barangay. Kung ma-build na ang project in 5 years, so unsay may tabo sa first 5 years gamay pa man na kayo mosulod. Pag abot sa 10 years, tanan na dahil sa subdivision ang mapuno or condominium mapuno. So, na dahil daghang tao. So, you project that one. And then, you build your kanang summary of results and conclusion, and then recommendation. Recommendation for traffic, engineering and management, transportation facility, pedestrian parking, and then mga appendices na dahil. So, appendices, when you're familiar, no? This is what we do with appendices. And then mga pictures sa area where the study has to be done. This is travel demand. Yan references. So, traffic impact assessment wise, it's not similar to building no nga isa ra ka book imong tan-awon and then never mind the rest. Right now, it's like you look at the facility and the entire environment. So, sa akong pagkabaw karon, tanan mga subdivision, tanan mga condominium, tanan hotels and everything nga dako og capacity sa isa ka construction would require traffic impact assessment. So, if you ask sa Cagayan ang traffic impact assessment ako lang og si Sir Jeff for now. And naay gusto mo sulod from Davao, naay gasulod from Manila, pero at least sa Manila kaila ko ng professor. So ako siya giignan nga, sir, kung pwede, Cagayan is a territory sa Cagayan. So I hope ang mga locals imong itagang chance nga mag-traffic impact. So chance sige, okay kay mas kapuyan ni mga sa Cagayan bel kay lisod kay mag-collect og data di ni familiar. And then per namin mag-anha sa ilahat ng mga SM, ilang central office SM kay naman sa Manila. So they will ask us to do traffic impact assessment sa mga projects sa SM. So better next time ako na i-recommend na ikaw magkuha sa data sa analysis because familiar na ka na kay data daan and mas easier to handle traffic impact assessment. So I'm fortunate enough na I have done already 2 for the last 2 years even if na COVID and to this time na sa nananapangutana sa ako condominium gyapon. So it's a very it's beyond civil engineering works, but the payment is very good. Dili siya normal sa plano nga hassle. It's just one concentration, and I've taught you how to do some of the things here. So it's very easy. Para sa ako, at least, kabalo man ko sa area and kabalo po ko how to do things. So I'm gonna share some of this to you, and maybe in the future we can work together. One of my students karon mo nagduol sa ako nga ma'am among company would require traffic impact because dili bitagaan sa building permit o construction permit without traffic impact kay dako og impact daw ang among construction. So nag-assess karon tabangan sa nako sila if I can manage to sort out unsa lang impact, no? So again akong gingon sa inyo, thrive where you think you can thrive. And do not limit your world sa lang ka area. Labi na karon kay daghan kay sa online. So I think I have karon na ko students karon nga mga alumnus na nato kay ni graduate previous years. Ilang mga trabaho kay online. Nag-call center, so pa ba uban. Lucrative man good na yun taas ang atong qualification daan. Kaya mo sa ka board exam so nag-online, nag-teaching online. It's okay. Di man na nimo malimtan imong gitun-an, no? If you learn as much, you can also expound. And I'm sharing this para kamo pod ma-inspire nga bisan ungay COVID, that's not a limitation. That's an opportunity for you. Don't take it as a problem lang. Kasi kung inana imong panglantaw niya, wala gid ka, dili ka mo thrive as a person. So if there's a chance na invite mo for a project, dayon tan-aw ninyo kadi mo kabalo. I think I have one big example. I have a student 2 years ago nga he's Muslim, no? And then dili kay siya kagkulbaan siya yung ko nga isa ra ko ma-recommend sa LTFRB na nagitawagan ako sa director sa Annabelle, we need help. Pwede ka ba magbigay ng somebody who can join us in LTFRB? We need a civil engineer who can do GIS and a lot of things. Sige sir, ako sa i-check. So I remembered one student, kay gi-recommend po siya sa RTA. Kung anong na-appeal man to yung ngalan dito, naulaw na nung kay ko, kailak ni sige pasabot ni director. Ang gingon sa RTA kay, ma'am, katong pag-defense bitaw sa imong estudyante, di ba mo ni apelido, mo ni ngalan, yung study kay Jeepney. Kung anak kay hinumdum baday ka, siya nga, yes ma'am, so amo siyang gi-recommend. Pero may kaila sa person, hinumdum na ko si apelido. So, akong gitrace ang estudyante, fortunate enough, ningon siya sa ako, willing ba ka mo-work for a government office? Ningon siya nga, ma'am, tagilid ang aming negosyo ngayon sa construction, kaya namatay man papa ko, and akong mama o akong brother is trying to build again the construction firm namo. But because pamilyado na ko, I need a job. So, very, very sincere, no? Ang yung purpose sa yung work. So I recommended him to director of LTFRB and karon dako kaya nakatago naka-timing siya nga katuday ang bracket, no? So it's very fortunate adto nga estudyante. Iyang gingon, ma'am, di man ko magaling, di ko expert. Ko dignon nimo, na di ka magaling, di ka expert, but you have the know-how. For sure, tagaan ka sa chance, no? Nobody will say outright no. Because right now, walay tao pod sa field, kitungod sa limitation sa pandemic. So if they are knocking on my door, so take that door open. So no, ayaw sa dingon i-shut down kay makulbaan ka. Take it as an open avenue for you to learn. Mura na po siya classroom. So I'm not sure kung unsa, basta na-hire na siya last May. It's already September, and so far wala may complain about sa akong lamisa. So I'm sure he is thriving where he is. So ingon na ko sa iya, when you have the interview, please be honest lang to tell them that you have the know-how but you lack the experience because it's only part of your subject and hindi ka masyadong nagka-practice for that purpose. So for sure, tagaan ka nila sa opportunity to review, and then we are here sa XUARC to help you kung nakay need nga materials, kaya naman si Sir Jeff to help you, and also these things. And maybe later in the future, kung nakay makita nga project ang makatabang sa atong school, sa AMOA, sa mga students, sa OJT, then just share also to us. Pay it forward. So I'm sharing this because it's almost like mahuman atong subject, and I'm hoping na fruitful ang inyong paglantaw sa inyong civil engineering course. Okay? Sabtantanan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ang handouts again, sorry gid kay nalang ko gihangyo dili nato i-share ang handouts no, kay ang mga handouts sabi nako kay walay citation uban nga nagadali na gyud kay ko sa lesson. So kung walay citation, please do not share it in FB, especially sa akong mga recording kay masapnan unya ta, then ay makakita sa akong mga images na gipang pansak nako sa akong slide. So kana siya, ayaw lang kaayo pag-share sa uban. Limit that to the Xavier Engineering students sa College of Engineering. Kay para pod kamo ang mas naka-endeavor to learn as much because kamo man ang nagbayad sa tuition, kamo man pod ang nag-benefit. So ayaw lang gid kay ibutang sa FB o sa online kay makit-an yun ako mga slide nga wala uban citation. So makasab-an si Xavier, and so dabay proprietary rights karon sa mga images na gi-download, no? So let's be careful on that. Kana lang. So that's all, everyone. Mish, can you take pictures para sa tanan? Gi-off naman siguro na ako ang sharing screen para sa attendance. Full screen.
Okay na, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Thank you and see you next